In today's video, we're going to be going over how we can create a timer in SwiftUI, and it's going to look like this. So we're going to have two buttons, one that can start the timer and one that can reset the timer. So if we click on start, it's going to start counting down the timer, and once it hits 0, it's just going to stop there. And in case we want to do it again, we can click on reset and start the timer again. And this can be used for many projects, and it's actually going to be the simplified version, so you can only use this while the app is active. Otherwise, if you exit the app, it's going to pause and it's probably not going to count down the way you want it to. So this is for apps that are only running in the foreground. So with that being said, we can go to Xcode and hold Shift Command plus N to create a new project. We will click on app and we can just call this timer project. And we will click on SwiftUI for the interface and Swift as the language. Then we can click on next and specify a project location and then click on create. The next thing we have to do is go ahead and close this sidebar, change the iPod Touch to an iPhone 13, minimize this window over here and resume the preview. And since we won't be using the sidebar, we can also safely close that. So as always, we have Hello World running. But to continue with this project, we're going to go ahead and create two state variables. And the first one is going to be the countdown timer. So countdown timer. And that's going to be equal to the amount of seconds you want this to count down for. Otherwise, we can go ahead and create another state variable, which is called timer running, which is initially going to be set to false. And this will control whether the timer is actually going or not. Then we need to go ahead and create a timer variable. And this is going to be of timer.publish. And inside here, we can get started by specifying every 1 second. And maybe you want it to update every 5 seconds. That's up to you. I'm just going to specify 1 for the first part. And then we need to specify which thread we are running this on. And we're going to go on the main thread. Then we also need to specify a loop mode, which is just going to be the common loop mode. And we have to call autoconnect to actually start this. So autoconnect. Now this is going to connect to the thread and update it every 1 second so that something can listen to it and update it accordingly. So all that's left to do is to create the UI finally and reflect the changes we've made with the state variables. So the first thing we're going to do is create a VStack, and inside the VStack we're going to start with the text, which is going to be an interpolated string of countdown timer. Then we have to specify an onReceive method, which is going to take our timer and react to the changes every 1 second. So inside here, you can just specify the timer, and then we need to specify what happens every time this timer gets published. So we're going to keep that empty in if the countdown timer is more than 0 and the timer is running. Then we're going to go ahead and decrement the countdown timer by 1 each time. Else, if it can't go any lower, we're just going to say that the timer should stop. So timer running will be set to false. As you can see in the preview, we have a small 5 and it's really hard to see. So we're going to go ahead and provide a font, which is going to be of .system. And we want to change the size to 80 and the weight to .bold. And I will provide an opacity of 0.80. Now, if we actually go ahead and set this to true, we should see a countdown appear in the live preview. So if we preview it, it's going to go 5, 4, 3, 2, 1, and it's going to stop there because it's going to set timer running to false, which means it stops counting down. But of course, we want to specify some controls that we can actually manipulate this timer with. So to do that, we're going to stop that, change this back to false, and add an Hstack down here. So Hstack with a spacing of 30. And first we're going to start with a button that says start. And all that does is set time running to true. Then we can go ahead and copy and paste that and paste it under. Click on reset. And all we have to do inside here is set the countdown timer to 5 seconds or to whatever amount of time you want it to reset to. And in iOS 15, of course, you can assign a role that is destructive because it will tell the user that reset is going to do something quite destructive, such as reset everything. But for previous versions, you can just go ahead and type in foreground color and set it to .red. So the user understands that reset is not a good action. But now if we go ahead and run the program once again, we can test it out. Now if we click on start, it's going to initiate the counter and it's going to count down to 0. If we click on reset, it's going to set it to 5 again. And we can click on both of these buttons as much as we want. If we click on reset while it's going up, it's going to continue going down. And it's a very simple way to create a counter on the main thread. But with that being said, as always guys, thanks for watching and I'll see you in the next video.